All right, what's up, everybody? Let's talk about pistol optics and why I believe the Acro P2 pretty much sucks. So I get a lot of questions. Hey, man, what optics should I put on this pistol? What are the pros? What are the cons? So I've got a little bit of a selection here to choose from, and we'll go over the pros and cons of these things. But let's start off with the Acro P2. In my estimation, this is my least favorite optic for a pistol. Probably my last pick. Well, maybe not the last pick. I mean, there's certainly worse options out there, but like this one for the size of the following that it has, just kind of baffles me a little bit to be honest with you guys. I've seen more breakages on Acro P2s than any other optic in classes. I've like seen front glass, like not only the sacrificial lens, but the lens behind it. I've seen all of that just basically come out of the front of the optic. I've seen emitters come loose and just like rattle around inside the optic body. It kind of sucks. I also hate the battery cap on these things. Like I posted about this on IG the other day in the stories, and I probably got every bit of like 100 comments like, hey, did you use the plastic tool that it came with to change the battery? Did you know that there are aftermarket battery caps? It's like, yes, I know all that, right? I'll be straight up with you guys. I find it very irritating that like I need to use a special tool to change the battery because the battery cap on this thing just gets absolutely demolished, as you can see, if you change it with like a flathead screwdriver or something. It's just, you know, you pay premium money for a premium option, premium optic. Like you should have a premium optic. The aluminum battery cap, like, yeah, I get it. They're out there and that'll fix this issue, but like, I'm not buying it just off of principle. I'd rather sell this optic to someone who will buy the aluminum battery cap. I find this, again, it's not like a huge deal. It's just irritating, right? Like it's a $600 optic, and there's a freaking battery cover on this thing that I need to use a plastic tool to get into the battery with. Just very irritating. The things that I do like about it, well, the only thing basically are the buttons. The buttons are hidden, and they're flat, so they're less likely to get bumped. They're also kind of fenced off by this super crappy battery cap, which I think is a good thing. I like that they're on the left side and not the right side because, again, they're not going to get bumped. With me being a righty, they're less likely to get bumped on the left side than they would the right side. Another con, last thing about this, you can tell how much I love this optic, is the size of it. Like, it's a really big optic for such a tiny window. It's got a really tiny window, making this thing like, you know, it's not impossible to use, but like it certainly is not easy to use. Yeah, it's big. It's got a tiny window, and the battery cap pretty much sucks. It also, like the turrets, you need a special tool. Like you'll see a common theme with this. I find that very irritating when you need special tools to zero optics. Like I just want to be able to take a 9mm case, stick it in the turret, and turn it and go about my business. Next enclosed emitter option we got here is the Holosun 509T. I've had several of these. Every single one of them have been absolutely phenomenal in terms of durability. I've never broken any of these. I've never seen any of these break in a class. Like, these are a very, very great option. I get it. Some people are going to say, oh, it's Chinesium. It is. Like, it is Chinesium. But it's Chinesium that is almost $200 cheaper than the Acro and is going to hold up better and doesn't have the silly things going on with it like the Acro does. Some of the really good things, in my opinion, about the 509T is how small it actually is. Like, the footprint is smaller than the Acro. It's smaller and has a bigger window, so it's like easier to use. Like, I would shoot a USPSA match with this gun or with this optic any day of the week. Like, this thing, these have been very, very good to me. Very, very good. The buttons are great. They have like a tactile feel to them. That's good. They're on the left side, which I like. It's got solar on it. I could take that or leave it. I don't know if that actually does anything or not. Someone will chime in the comments and say it's good, but like, I don't know. I'm going to change the battery like once a year anyway, so I could take or leave the solar thing. I do find it irritating that I need a special tool again to get this thing zeroed. It's got really tiny, like, I don't know what you call it. Like, they're little straight slot screws. And you need like their tool that comes with this, or you could use a Multitasker Nano 2, which are great. Like, I have them on keychains and stuff, but again, like, I would just rather like pick up a 9mm case off the ground and like turn the turrets. Like, there are a plethora of 9mm cases out on my range, and pretty much every range that I've been on for that matter. And so it just makes it easier, like when the turrets will just be able to take a 9mm case to be able to turn. The battery compartment on the pretty much all of the Holosuns are going to have this little tiny screw and then a battery tray. Some of the cons that I've seen with this is the screw loves to come out. So like, you're going to have to blue Loctite it and put a witness mark. Now, I have a witness mark this one because I don't shoot this gun a whole lot. But like, if you're going to use this thing a lot, like, put blue Loctite on that screw and put a witness mark with a paint pen. This way you can just glance down and make sure your screw is not backing out, because I have had these things back out and then the entire battery tray comes out and then you no longer have a dot, which is inconvenient. So 509T, really good in my opinion. The next one that I think is pretty good is the Holosun 508T. This one I believe is titanium. That probably is what T stands for, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a little bit lighter. This is also the X2. I don't know what that means. All these companies have, like, you know, these numbers and stuff. Like, I wish they would just call it something instead of like putting 50 numbers on it. Just makes it more confusing. But anyway, this really good optic for an open emitter. I've not had any problems out of these. It's a little bit smaller window, which I think is kind of a con, but like, if you're going to carry it, this is not going to print as bad as some of the bigger options for sure. Again, we've got we've got buttons on the left side, which is good, and they're a nice tactile feel. Again, you have this really silly turrets on this thing where you have to have a special tool to change it. Very irritating. But next option we got here is the Delta Point Pro. We don't necessarily see these as much anymore. There's just a lot better options out there, but there was a time when like these Delta Point Pros, like these things were the heat. You know, 5-6 years ago, this is pretty much all I used was the Delta Point Pro. I concealed carry these, all of that jazz. There's a lot of cons to this though, to be honest. I've broken probably 7 or 8 of these, and they're always electrical issues where like you'll fire the gun and then the dot like turns off, and then you'll fire the gun again and then the dot pops back up. They're just not robust enough. I mean, they're relatively inexpensive. So I guess like maybe if you wanted this, you could buy several of them and just keep replacing them. But to me, that's just kind of annoying, especially when there's other options out there. One of the pros for the Delta Point Pro is the glass. Like, the glass is absolutely phenomenal. It's the most clear glass. It is, yeah, it's the best glass on a red dot sight that you're going to put on a pistol, like on the market. I don't think anyone has glass as nice as the Leupold Delta Point Pro. It's also a thin optic body, which is nice. So it's like not much obstructing the view of your target target line. So I dig the Delta Point Pro quite a bit. I just wish it held up better. If they would like fix that, I would probably use these a lot more. But when I was using them pretty heavy, like in USPSA, it was always like draw the gun on a classifier and the dot is gone, which was like very frustrating. Anyway, moving on. Trijicon SRO. This one happens to be the 5MOA. This is definitely my choice of red dot for a really, really long time, especially the 5MOA. I dig the bigger dots. The really cool thing about the SROs, in my opinion, is you can get them in different MOA sizes, which, you know, there's other options out there that, you know, they'll give you like, hey, here's a horseshoe with a dot. Here's just a horseshoe. Here's a circle. Here's a circle with a dot. Here's a circle with a BDC. Like, I really don't want all that. I just want a 5MOA dot in there. So like, this is basically the only one outside of like, I think You could get a 6 MOA dot with the Delta Point Pro. But yeah, I think maybe some of the SIG options as well. But the SRO I like a lot. Like, this one is definitely a top contender. I know there's other bigger options out there now, but I definitely will not be selling any of the SROs. Like, I love these optics a lot. The brightness settings, I do think it is kind of a con with the minus setting on the outside or on the right side of the optic. Like, as a righty, if I bump into something, it is going to dim the dot. So, like, you know, if you're on a stage or if you're going to carry this thing, like, before, you know, you got to make ready, just like make sure that the dot is, you know, the brightness that you want. Also, when I carry this is my carry gun, by the way. I will just like routinely lift up my shirt and look down at the dot and make sure it's the brightness that I want, because it will get bumped. That button will. Another con to this is the battery cap. I'm not sure why optic companies do this to us, but the battery cap, it's not going to hold up as well as some of the other ones. It's not going to get completely demolished like the P2, but like you could see, this one gets marred up pretty good. And it's just overall like kind of hard to get to. Like, you can certainly do it with a flathead screwdriver, but like you're going to mar it up a little bit while you're doing it, which I don't typically care about, which is probably why mine looks like that. But again, it's just one of those little quirky things about the optic. I love how you could just stick a 9mm case in the turret and turn it. Like, that is awesome. Like, I don't need a special tool to mess around with the SRO. Another thing that I like about the SRO is not only is it a really big window, but it's round at the top. Some guys will be like, well, it's bad for duty use. I'll tell you, like, this one conceals the best out of all of these that are in front of me, and it conceals the best because of that radius on the optic. Like, this thing barely prints at all. If you have an optic that has like a square, or here, like a square body, like this is going to print. Like, that corner right there prints. It just does. Like, there's nothing on your body that has a like a square, right? So this one tends to blend in a whole lot easier. Some of the people complain about the blue tint on the SRO. I'll be straight up, like, I don't care. I do see the blue tint, not while I'm using it, but like if I look for it, I'm like, yep, okay, it has blue tint. And then I put on sunglasses that are green. So I don't think it really matters that there's a little bit of a blue tint to this thing. So the SRO, really, really great option. Last option is the Holosun 509 Comp. This one is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, for like shooting USPSA or 3-gun or whatever kind of game you're doing with a pistol. The window on this thing is massive. I mean, it's like a television. It's really great. Like, the outline of the optic body too, it's a little bit bigger than, say, the Delta Point Pro. As you can see here, we'll compare them side by side. A little bit more, you know, body around the Holosun, but it's not a huge deal. I don't necessarily notice it, and I even have a shroud, like a protective shroud from Arise Armament around this one. I don't notice it barely at all while I'm shooting it. So the window, with it being as big as it is a really, really great option, again, for like USPSA. I definitely would not buy this to carry, because again, like that corner is going to print like crazy, and since the optic is so big, like, you know, again, it's just going to print. If you don't care about it printing, then rock on, right? This would be a good option for you. Battery cap, or I keep saying that. Brightness adjustment on the left side, really, really nice. These are even smaller buttons, which I like, because they're not accidentally going to get pressed. You do have this little screw for the battery tray, which again, like, put blue Loctite on it and witness mark it like I have done here. And then the turrets are still the annoying turrets that are on the rest of the Holosuns that you're gonna have a special tool, and you can't use a 9mm case to adjust. So if they would, you know, basically change the turrets on these things and maybe change something about this battery tray to make it to where it like doesn't fall out as easy, or I don't have to pay as much attention to it, like, this thing would be absolutely perfect in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't have anything else to change about it. But there you go. That's some really good red dot options. in my estimation. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to drop them in the comment box below. And as always, happy to answer them for you. And just so you know, the Aimpoint P2 sucks.